Alright my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and as I start this video off, I want to say something really quick. This is actually a reposting of a video I did the other day. It was brought to my attention that I misspoke in the video, and honestly, it would have totally f***ed up a lot of people's gameplay, and I've spent the last 5 years doing my best to make sure I always give you the most accurate information I possibly can, and sometimes instead of trying to chop up a video that's already posted, the best thing to do is just pull that video and repost it with the fixes implemented, so that's exactly what you're getting really quick. Now before you even look at the video, this is a boss farm on floor 90, so if you happen to already know exactly how that farming method works, please do not waste your time watching this video, but for everyone else, we are going to go over some farming details really quick. Thank you once again for everything, sorry for the f*** up, and yeah, here's the gameplay footage. So one question I've been getting here at the channel from new and returning players since the launch of the DLC and the beginning of the new season is if the summit is still a viable way to farm for loot, especially as a solo player. And my short answer to that question is yeah, it is. And there happen to be 4 reasons why I make such a bold statement. First of all, you have boss density, which we're going to highlight in this video. You also have the ability to choose your targeted loot. You have scalable difficulty, and you also have the fact that this is an incredibly efficient way to farm, especially for players out there who may only have a short period of time to play and you want to feel like you actually accomplished something. So in today's video, we are going to focus on farming infinite bosses on floor 90 in the summit, which is still one of my favorite ways to farm for loot in the game, especially as a solo player. Now, as always, we're going to jump right into the details, and if you happen to enjoy this, do me a favor and hit that like button. It truly helps the channel out, and if you want to stay up to speed on all things Division, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button as well. Now, once I've chosen my targeted loot, the next thing I'm going to do is choose my difficulty. Now, as most of you know in this game, when it comes to difficulty, the higher the difficulty you play on is always going to equate to better loot on a more consistent basis. When it comes to directives, those are optional, but as you can see on screen, each directive slightly increases the chances for a targeted loot item to drop alongside a normal loot drop, which simply means if a boss happens to drop 4 pieces of loot, there's a better chance that multiple pieces will actually be the type of loot that you're looking for, and as we jump to the gameplay footage, I'm going to explain everything to you in real time as I'm playing. Now with that being said, at this point I want to walk you through all of the details you need to know in regard to this farm. If you have any questions I did not address, please let me know in the comment section. On that note, let's jump right to the footage. So a lot of you have asked me to highlight this farming method without any edits whatsoever, so we're going to do 3 runs in a row, okay? So there are a bunch of different things we're going to talk about in this portion of the video, the first of which is that when it comes to any 10th floor in the summit, 10, 20, 30, 40, so on and so forth, you are only going to encounter 4 different floor layouts, 2 of which I like, 2 of which I do not. This is not one of my favorites because it takes a while to get to the named bosses, but again, I'll talk about that in a second. And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of players, worry about, am I going to run into a jammer pulse? Am I going to run into whatever it is? That's not going to happen on any of the 4 floor layouts that was tough to say, the 4 floor layouts you're going to encounter when you're farming a 10th floor. Now in this case, as you can see on screen, we're farming floor 90. The reason for that is because you are going to face 3 named bosses on the 90th floor. Now what you need to pay attention to is very simple. How many bosses have you actually farmed, right? So this is our second one right here. And the reason we have to pay attention to that detail is because with this farming method, you cannot clear the floor entirely. So what we're going to do is this. As soon as the 3rd boss comes out, we're going to take out the boss, pick up the loot, fast travel back to the lobby, which allows you to rinse and repeat this farming method as many times in a row as you like. Now the reason I mention this every single time I post this farming guide is because I hear from players out there who clear the floor, then they get pushed up to floor 91, they can no longer rinse and repeat, and that sucks because you spent a lot of time getting to floor 90. So please do not make that mistake because it can take a while to get to floor 90. You can try using matchmaking, join a group, get to one of the higher floors. Totally up to you. You can also do it as a solo player, and if that's the case, you can get to floor 90 on any difficulty that you want, and once you're there, you can get back to the lobby, and then you can change it to the difficulty of your choosing. Now, the other benefit about fast traveling back to the lobby is the fact that your character will always stay at floor 90 in the summit. So let's say if you go to a different game mode, you log out, you log back in, or let's say you even go a month or 2 without playing the summit, your character will still be loaded into floor 90, and that's the entire point of this farm. Because remember, when it comes to farming bosses in the open world, they are on a 30-minute timer. So you can farm 1 boss every 30 minutes, and if you happen to be able to farm heroic control points, that's a great way to farm as well, but that's the only other way you're going to see named bosses if you're not running a mission or something like that. Alright, so really quick, I'm going to focus on the gameplay. We're going to take out this first wave of nerds once they are taken out, and you can see I'm doing this on challenging, we'll take out the first boss. So let's clear this really quick. This is one of the floor layouts that I love, by the way. So yeah, it's a good layout. Reason being is you're really close to the elevator once you load into the game. So I'm paying attention, obviously. This is the first boss. We've taken them out really quick. And as I said earlier, the other benefit about farming in the summit is not only can you choose your targeted loot, but you can farm named bosses on any difficulty that you want. So if you're struggling, let's say on heroic, you can farm named bosses on a lower difficulty and you can do it non-stop. The other thing you will notice is that as you become more and more comfortable with these floor layouts, you're just going to rip through the content really quick. Okay, so any second we should get that second boss spawning over here. Let's do that really fast. Bing, bang, bong. Exotic. Oh, damn it. Speaking of which, this is another great way you can farm for exotics in the game, especially as a solo player. If you're looking for, you know, the Memento, the Ninja Bike, St. Elmo, stuff like that, set that targeted loot accordingly and add a bunch of directives if you can, and hopefully you'll get one pretty damn quick. And always remember with this game, it all boils down to luck. You know, I hear from Ping, I gotta pay attention. All right, so look, taking out the named boss, we're picking up the loot. I am then going to immediately fast travel back to the lobby, and then we will do it one more time. What was I saying? Oh, it all boils down to luck. You know what I mean? I hear from people who are trying to get one thing. Let's say you're trying to get the Ninja Bike, you only get the Memento. You're trying to get St. Elmo's, you only get the Chameleon. What I recommend doing is this. When it comes to any farm in the game, do not let yourself get burnt out because it's very, very easy to do. But what's great about this method is that, you know, I talked about a moment ago, you can farm one boss every 30 minutes in the open world. But I think when it comes to this actual gameplay, this is our third attempt. I don't know, it's taken, let's say 5 or 6 minutes. And once I clear this, I will have taken out 9 bosses in less than 6 minutes. And for those of you wondering why are we focusing on the named bosses, it's because they can drop some of the best loot in the game. And for me personally, I've gotten some great loot with this method. You know, what I'll do is I'll jump into the game 20, 30 minutes here and there, try to get something I'm looking for. And for new and returning players, you know, when you get yourself to this floor 90, which again can be a pain in the ass, but it truly happens to be the most efficient way to farm for bosses in the game without a doubt, my friends. And of course, Countdown is the best way to farm for a ton of loot in a short amount of time. But as a solo player, I think a lot of people forget about this farming method, so I wanted to once again remind you of it. I think that's all I got for this video. As always, I want to thank you all for your incredible support. Let's finish up this round. You know, I'm chatting away like crazy, and I'm thinking to myself, is this the second or third boss? I think it's the second, right? Like, you can answer me. Dear Lord, what a mistake. Not paying attention to detail. Hey, everyone, pay attention. Watch me totally f it up right now. No, I think we're good. This is the second boss. I'm pretty damn sure. Well, we'll find out together, won't we? Yeah, this is the second boss. Okay, everything's fine, people. Got to figure it out. Anyway, I'm going to let this play out. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time. And as I mention at the end of every one of these, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone. Alright, my fellow agents, so this is where I actually messed up the previous video, so I do want to talk about farming and making sure that you're being as efficient as you possibly can with your time. And one question I get here at the channel in regard to certain named items is when you're choosing your targeted loot, should you choose the gear type or should you choose the brand set? Thankfully, the answer is simple. You always want to choose the brand set. So for instance, if you're trying to get Contractor's gloves, you want to choose Petrov as your targeted loot because that is the brand set in which you will find those gloves. If you want to get Fox's Pro knee pads, you want to choose Overlord. You do not want to choose knee pads because remember, if you choose knee pads as your targeted loot, it means you could get a knee pad from any of the gear sets or brand sets in the game, and obviously that is a very big loot pool, so you want to narrow that down. So follow the brand set, my friends. That is going to do it for this video, my fellow agents. Thank you once again for everything, and I will see you in the next one.